Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Zareth Prevails. Much to the chagrin of many of you, but much to the grin of myself, 3v3 in Grand Arena is finally back after approximately 6 months of 5v5, and so we have a lot of things to cover. There's been a lot of different releases and a lot of different teams that we have to adjust for. And I'm not going to say that I know everything about this game mode, and I know that it's not necessarily the most popular game mode out there, but I did have a fair amount of success at this game mode back when we were doing it 6 months ago. I think I went like 5 full rounds undefeated with 3v3 toward the end there. So I do want to address a few different concerns that people have about this mode and kind of just present a couple counters and just things to kind of get the creative juices flowing, or the pump primed, or whatever metaphor you care about or don't. I personally don't care, as long as it's a metaphor. So the first video footage that I want to show, we'll just jump right into it, is a counter to the Darth Revan madness. I know that for a long time people were frustrated about the impact of this squad in this game mode, just because Darth Revan at the time was extremely difficult to beat and Malak was out. You'll note that all these videos all have like gear 12 as the max because we didn't have gear 13 yet or anything. Anyways, people were frustrated because the Darth Revan team was just unbeatable. Like, you put him on defense and you wouldn't be able to actually budget at all. You wouldn't be able to beat it. And eventually, like in the very last match that I had, I wanted to try something new, and so I decided to try what eventually became the Jawa Gambit, as I call it. And I won't pretend like I invented that or anything, but I did use some really low-level characters to increase the cooldowns on all these different characters, and once I did that, then I was able to use another squad to snipe Adstila, and that eventually met with failure. But then my third attack, which seems excessive perhaps, but on my third attack I was able to take out Darth Revan with Padme. And you can see the text notes here. This is from before I was actually able to do any kind of voice commentating on these, so bear with me on those. And I was able to take this squad out, and I know that a lot of people think that maybe this wouldn't work if Malak had been part of the squad, but I actually do think that it would have worked as well. And I just would have used Treya on the very last step there instead of my single Zeta Padme. So that was an expendable squad. It doesn't look like it's expendable these days, but it was. And you can see the note that I wrote here. So I do genuinely think that would have worked. And anyways, let's continue to move on.
I find that answer vague and unconvincing.
One of the things I really like about 3v3 is its potential for theorycraft, and I know that a lot of people feel like this is a mode that's unbalanced just because, everything that they playtest is, like they playtest anyways, but the playtesting that is done, then the balancing that is done, is all based on a 5v5 scale rather than a 3v3, and so you start getting some pretty strange combinations here. You can't take full teams, and so you kind of, a lot of the squads you're taking are either distillations of the original squad, just like the 3 best characters, like the squad I'm facing here with Jin and Chase, that those are commonly believed to be the 3 best characters in Rogue One, or at least, Jin is a leader, so you need to take her anyways. So what you see before you, though, on the team that I'm taking is a totally new team that's completely unique to 3v3, and I can't take credit for this specific counter. This is my friend Solo Base 15's idea initially, and I absolutely stole it because that's what I do. When I see a good counter, I like to steal it and adapt it to my own needs. And you can see here, I'm able to take this team down pretty well. This is a pretty solid defensive team in 3v3, or at least it was in 3v3 6 months ago, and there are stronger Chase builds out there, of course, in 3v3. Like that, you can see that Baze is only gear 11 and everything, but my Lando is actually only gear 11 as well. And the whole idea of behind this thing is, you take Vander Chewbacca and you can give him prepared almost right away because of young Han Solo, and then even if young Han Solo or Lando eventually die, Vander just passively revives them, and you can feed Chewbacca the prepared buff one more time, and you can just keep going. Meanwhile, young Han Solo is continuously just building his offense, and eventually is able to just one-shot these guys. And so, I really enjoyed that as a counter to that team. It's pretty unique, though. So let's move into the next round or match, and you can see that I'm taking Thrawn with Krennic and Death Trooper, and it's against Commander Luke with droids. And I wouldn't say that this is the best build for Commander Luke on defense, but it is problematic because it has 3 really strong characters, and you don't want to have to use one of your best teams available. And so one of my very favorite teams in this mode toward the end was this Thrawn lead with Krennic and Death Trooper, because Death Trooper can't really fit with the other troopers. Like he's not as essential as a couple of the others, and so it's like, where does he fit in? And Krennic is used almost never for anything. Like, I really like him and his kit, and it's just never used. Like, it's just not relevant right now. And so the fact that I'm able to use Krennic here in 3v3 is just kind of a gift. I really enjoy having that opportunity. And this is actually a pretty strong squad. You can see I'm fighting it, and they're stealthing Commander Luke, and Commander Luke is doing all kinds of gross damage, and he's resisting all these things, and he countered and killed Death Trooper. But Krennic can revive Death Trooper. How many of you guys knew that? So Krennic revived Death Trooper, and then Krennic is just about to die, but the synergy between Death Trooper and Krennic isn't that great in 5v5. It is pretty substantial in 3v3 just because of the scope and the scale of this game mode. And so you find opportunities to use some of these kits that aren't necessarily usable in 5v5, but have a lot of utility in 3v3. I'm not saying that this is the most powerful combination ever, but I'll also say that it's much stronger in this mode, in this iteration, than it is in 5v5. Like, you couldn't really win with Thrawn lead and Death Trooper and Krennic as your core against a Commander Luke team, like almost any Commander Luke team with Rebels, in 5v5. But 3v3, very plausible. So, and my Krennic was only gear 11 at that time. Now he's a lofty gear 12, so we'll see what happens in this new mode. But moving forward into our next match, eventually here, we have the Kira Nest and L3 combo. And I took this one just to show you guys there's really there's going to be an internal debate, and maybe an external debate really, about what we should be doing with Nest, whether she belongs on offense or defense. And I'm sure that won't necessarily be settled at any point. Like, people will just be doing whatever they want. This is actually a continuation of the last match that you saw where Commander Luke was with those droids. And my opponent put Rex with these 2 scoundrels. Rather, I mean, that they are scoundrels, but they're really strong rebels as well. So Chewie and Han are hanging out there. And so, you can see that I have a high tenacity Nest, and immediately she got stunned right after I wrote that font there, that text. And so that was kind of funny. But I just want to show you guys here, like, Nest can do a lot of really awesome things in 3v3 that she doesn't necessarily have the potential to do in 5v5. I mean, I know that there are a lot of people who do a really good job of showcasing how potent Nest can be in 5v5. She's way better on offense in 3v3 though. And in this case, I know I used those the initial 3 characters, and so I didn't get an understrength win. But Nest is going to be the moneymaker for you on offense if you want to get an undersized win. She's going to be able to get that consistently, most likely. One thing I really enjoy about 3v3 is being able to split different squads into 2 distinct versions of themselves. And that being said, this isn't the best example of that. These Nightsisters were pretty strong and everything, but my opponent declined to use Talzin as a lead as well, which I think is somewhat foolish. And so this isn't the very best example ever, but you can see these diverse squads. We're going to see 2 Nightsisters squads quite a bit here, I think. And you want to be able to counter Nightsisters. They're still really strong, really relevant and everything. And I really like using this bounty hunter build on offense here. I don't know if I'm going to use it on offense or defense this time around, but it's a really strong option to be able to take out Nightsisters. And even if Zombie had been taunting the whole time, I had 2 different characters who could ignore that taunt, which is really important. And one thing that I did want to point out is the importance of a taunting tank in 3v3 is even bigger now, especially one that can passively taunt or, be able to start with a pre-taunt or something. In 3v3, that's really important. And so having characters who can ignore that, like Nest or the different Fets or whatever, is going to be really important. And so, that Nightsisters team can be really frustrating, and I was able to beat it pretty handily. With bounty hunters. And that kind of brings us to our next point is we're going to be using a lot of different counters than the traditional counters. Like, some of them are going to stay the same. Treya still kills like everything that she used to. That doesn't change, but we're also going to be using a lot of new ones and a lot of unexplored ones. And so, that segues nicely into the next segment. We're done with videos here now for a minute, and instead I want to show you guys, this is the counter sheet that myself and my friend SoloBase15 maintain. And you can see it's a spreadsheet. I'm going to have a link in the video description if you guys want to check it out. You can see on the very bottom there's a tab. 5v5 is the one that's more heavily populated. The 3v3 is obviously a little bit dated just because this game mode hasn't been used since May. However, just like we've been updating the 5v5 every single week and every single match that we show, we're also going to be showing and updating our matches for 3v3. And so you'll get more relevant information as we continue to have matches. And you can see there's a hyperlink there that you can go and actually see video of it. We have timestamps for those different links, so that you guys can go and look at our video descriptions and be able to actually navigate straight to that counter. You don't have to just like click through the video and try to find it. So it's a great resource. A lot of people use it already. It's really helpful in my opinion. It's pretty detailed, so check that out. Right alongside that, SoloBase15 and I also run a Discord server called The Gambit. It's connected to our podcast, which I'll mention in a minute here, but, we talk about Grand Arena things a lot. A lot of people have a lot of really nice things to say about different things. We have a lot of really skilled players in there, and they just want to talk strategy, so check that out. We have a podcast that we do weekly that's completely centered around Grand Arena, and our next episode will come out on Monday or Tuesday night, whatever. I don't know. For us, it'll be like Tuesday morning, basically. But check that out as well. It's completely centered around Grand Arena talk with a little bit of Territory Wars as well. And then finally, I have a YouTube channel, which obviously you guys are watching it, but I have a bunch of archived Grand Arena videos that a lot of them that I pulled from earlier in this video come from there. So you can check that out in my playlist. None of them have audio, but you can check it out if you want. And now to conclude, I just want to show you guys a few of the teams that I'm thinking about using. This is not by any stretch a conclusive list of all the teams that I plan on using on offense and defense, but just want to give you guys some ideas of teams to use for offense and defense. So this page is completely offensive teams. I don't think I want to put any of them on defense at all. Then here's some defensive teams. You could see Nightsisters, I split them up, and Shakti with a couple of her clones with Echo and Fives, save Rex for offense. And then a couple more defensive teams, I think. It's going to be interesting because the Brood Alpha actually gives you 4 characters in 3v3. So, you have a timeout team on the very top with Bastila. They don't have any punching power, but they probably stick around for a couple fights. You have Karth and Mission and Zalbar. It's not that interesting, really. These two teams I'm torn between using on offense or defense. Both of them have really strong cases to be made for both. For offense, we have Kira with Nest and Commander Luke with the 2 shooty boys, and they could also be on defense or offense depending on what your needs are. You have, for offense, First Order is always great. They can take out a lot of different teams in 3v3, and troopers and all these other things. Apparently I love First Order so much that I added the same squad twice here for some reason. And then finally we have Hawk's team, which he's gear 12 with 3 stars, which is pretty fun. But you know, I just mean to show you guys here, not to brag about him or anything. I don't know how he'll do in 3v3, but we're going to have a lot of new different teams available to us. We don't know everything, but stay tuned to this channel. I'll be showing you all of my Grand Arena matches, and you know, if I fail a lot, you guys can learn from that, and if I win a lot, then you guys can see what works. So anyways, look forward to seeing you guys, and thank you for watching this video. And remember that in all things, Zareth prevails.